Well, I have to tell you, Scott, it took me 3 days to finally get my POTUS report done this week. I mean, not my POTUS report, my political theater, because we've had so many solar flashes. There's so much coming off the sun. The Schumann frequency has been so high that it's been. Hold on a second. 1 second. There we go. That it's been interfering with the Wi-Fi and the internet connectivity. So, hi everybody. Hi everybody. Welcome to the GoldFish Report. I'm your host and researcher, Louisa. Today is Thursday, July 23rd, 2020. This is GoldFish Report number 531. Can you believe it, folks? It was just number 500, like, a week ago? And we are flying through this. Today we are back with another edition of Food for the Soul with one of our most favorite guests, Dr. Scott Werner. Scott, thank you so much for being with me again today. It's good to see you.
Oh, it's good to be here, good to be seen, the alternative. So I'm very happy, and we've got a great message today about how it's time to, get to a better solution for tomorrow rather than dealing with all the fear and anxiety that most of humanity's going through right now. And it is causing damage to our psyche and enslaving us even more. And so we need to get out of our thinking and to more positive creation energy.
Exactly. So, as Scott was telling me about what message Saint Germain wanted to communicate today, really it comes down to that we all get it, that there's so much chaos going on in the world and there's so much misinformation. It really is a war for our minds, and so the only thing we can really do, we can't really control, and sometimes we can't even really discern truth from fiction. But what we can do is always remember that our bodies are a temple and that we ultimately can only control what's around us. And so that's why we're calling this report today, Accentuate the Positive, Eliminate the Negative. And yeah, that sounds like a very simple message, but sometimes it is that simple. And before we move on, I'm going to just recite my little serenity prayer here, because you know what, folks, it's so simple, but it's the hardest thing for many, many people to do. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And sit
Yeah.
with that, Scott.
Oh, I
Oh.
love it. I have always loved that serenity prayer. And I can't even remember who wrote it, but it's divine and very instructive, because there's a lot of things going on in the world that we can't shift because they're being created by the cabal. And we are, basically humans living in this physical experience. And we've got to shift from this physical upheaval and chaos and damage to a higher state. And so we're going to describe how to do this today, because knowing in our thoughts that we are creating our reality, we can dissipate the energy by shifting our conscious belief of what's going on. Now, I'm just going to give an example really quickly. Many people are waking up. They're starting to watch these horrible videos about all the pedophilia, the child molestation, the child harvesting, cannibalism. And we are seeing all the truth of what's going on the planet coming out, but it's affecting our psyche because most of us hardly believe that humans can be so diabolical and perverse. And it's caused us to watch this stuff in disbelief, and it's making our psyche get jumbled up with all of the crap that they've been doing to the children and the killing. And, just seeing some of the information on all of the deaths of the people trying to reveal Clintons did. And basically, they just killed everybody that got in their way, so that when they were going to come out and testify, they'd be hung. And it's interesting, they all were deemed as suicide, but in reality, they left evidence that it wasn't suicide. Like a red scarf was at most of these dead people. And, you know, it showed the Clintons, yeah, our guys took care of it, you know. And it's so diabolical that it's one of those things that our minds can't handle the thoughts of humanity being so depraved, so degraded, so involved in things that disobey the basic 10 commandments. And so, you know, thou shalt not kill wasn't just a suggestion, it's a commandment. And there's people out there
Good.
just, you know, doing all kinds of stuff. Oh, that made you laugh. I
Well, that's
love
funny. I mean,
that.
that's funny. It wasn't a suggestion. You said that, so that's so huge what you just said. And you're just like, as a matter of fact, you know, it wasn't a suggestion in case anybody thought it was, you know, it's like, come on, people. No, I mean, these are the army of Satan, you know, and these are the people who come here at the end times to try to think that they're going to conquer the world. You know, in the end, God wins, you know. So in the end, what does that mean? What is the end? The end times, I guess, right? So,
Yes.
but this is the war that we're fighting right now, and and realize that, you know, it's really funny because right before we started, I was telling Scott about an issue that I was having that was upsetting me tremendously, and and the funny thing about it is that I think a lot of people are going through this week in particular because of the Schumann frequency. Everybody's being hammered with all these gamma rays and, you know, whatever it's doing to our bodies. It's bringing up aches and pains. It's bringing up a lot of things that we still have planets in retrograde. So there's still a lot of, you know, review and revisiting things. Hi, Morgan. Thanks for joining us. Happy Thursday. Yep. And so my point was that that sometimes, you know, it's the unseen. That's what Jesus said. There's more in the unseen than there is in this in the visual seen world, right? So sometimes, you know, it's a spiritual battle that we're in right now. The president talks about, everybody talks about this, right? So sometimes they can't really get to you. If you're really a stronger kind of soul, it's very hard for them to directly um, mess with you because you're onto them and you're too strong. But they can interfere with your loved ones and those who are close to you, and through
Oh,
them
yes.
that can indirectly, or I would say even directly, attack us and get us to then even not only attack us personally, but get us to even really disrupt the relationships that we have in our life. And we have to realize that, you know, and one of the things Scott did before we started this program today was clear the energies around me and, you know, the circumstances that I was explaining to him. And I said, you know, thanks for doing it. He says, you know, I do this all day. It's what I do. It's just natural for Scott to do these things. And this is exactly what we're talking. Karen, she says, I'm exhausted. I hear you, Karen. I hear you. I'm not only exhausted, I'm at my wit's end. I've had it up to here. I mean, you know, we've all, this chaos is too much, especially if you work in the media. And I'm inundated with this stuff 24/7, folks. And it's like I know that I need to step away and get away and really ground. And we have to ground, don't we, Scott? Isn't that, this is what I wrote about? It's like, really, we have to choose. We choose to react to the events around us so we can keep our proverbial ship steady in the political storm that has jettisoned its way toward us.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing, grounding just puts us in the resonance of the Schumann resonance. It's the resonance of the earth, and
Okay.
more of it is coming in to help the humans recognize we're in a disresonance, or we're not resonating with the earth and with God and with all the things going on. And when these things happen, you know, our bodies ache because we're thinking negative thoughts. We've got negative thought forms, we got incoming all the time that's affecting our psyche in a negative way. And so it's more important now than ever that we get out into nature. But what's the cabal doing to us?
Mm.
They're sequestering us in our environment, and they're sequestering us in this energy that's diabolical and confusing and chaotic. And whereas we should be out on the beach, grounding to the earth and the ocean and all the beauty around
Mm.
us, but we can't do this. And they're telling us we can't be out and about. Stay home, stay safe. Bullshit. It's it's we need to get out into nature and replenish our bodies with that higher frequency. Believe it or not, you will feel better by getting out into nature, by getting out on the beach, by being able to hug a tree or be out in
Mm.
the trees and nature and all the beauty of the planet.
Huh.
And your aches and pains will just sort of disappear.
Well, it's challenging because, we're having a heat wave, a major heat wave up in the northeast of the US up here. And the reason it's challenging is because, well, look, my air conditioning broke and it was not pleasant. And,
Yeah.
so I had to learn, how to install an air conditioner. And, while it was 100 degrees out, and nothing was easy, and these are our challenges, but it's the hardest thing to do. We have to overcome our physical challenges. We have to look at them completely differently. I mean, isn't that what this prayer is telling us to do? We have
Yeah.
to, it's such a simple prayer, but it's such a very hard thing to truly do. It's because it's begging us to not allow our spirit and our soul to be overwhelmed by the physical reality that we're experiencing. Hard to do, but look, people don't earn the title Ascended Master for nothing. Right,
That's
Scott?
right. Well, and here's the interesting thing. It's like the story of Jesus on the Sea of Galilee, and he fell asleep and it was calm and everything, and all of a sudden the storms start coming. And they start throwing the ship back and forth. And Jesus is calmly sleeping, he's not even worried about it. And he had actually taught the disciples how to control nature and how to ask for the assistance of the angels and archangels and all the beings, the cosmic beings of divine light and love. And
Hmm.
yet they forgot in their fear what Jesus had taught them to do. So they went and they woke him up. They said, Jesus, don't you care that we're all going to die? Because that's what they were thinking.
Hmm.
They were going to be thrown overboard, and in the storm, they were going to drown. And Jesus looked at him and he said to him, don't you remember what I taught you? And then he went and he said, peace, be still. Peace, be still. Peace, be still. He said it 3 times. There's power in 3.
Hmm.
And the winds calmed, the waves calmed down, and the storm calmed down, and the disciples were amazed. But Jesus again said to them, you have the power to do this, so realize what I'm teaching you works. And I've used that statement with many, many people. And what you do when you're in this conflict, you literally you close your eyes and you say to yourself, peace, be still. Peace, be still. Peace, be still. And at that third time, you're going to feel this this energy of chaos just go away, and you become very peaceful, and you'll feel your body just literally calm down.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so it's a very basic teaching, but it's in the
Right.
Bible for a reason, to teach
Yeah.
us how to still our soul, how to still our body and let it be peaceful.
What I should have done differently was, how I said like 2 times. I try to have a conversation with somebody, and I'll give
Yes.
you an additional 2 times to try to look, there's rules of conversation. I'm gonna do a whole report on this because linguistics was my minor, and
Yes.
there's just some people who violate the maxims of conversation, and boy, I'll tell you, it does trigger people. And the funny thing is that it's kind of like having a conversation with, you know, should I say a liberal? Okay, it's really hard to make, you can't talk any sense into them. Really, they almost seem completely um, resistant to
Oh,
any
they're
kind of,
mind controlled,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. They seem resistant to any kind of reason and logic, which is mind baffling. It's mind baffling. So what I should have done that I didn't do, I
It's
should have.
okay to admit what we do,
I'm not admitting it. I mean, I admitted it to you.
because that's the beginning of a therapeutic opening that helps us to change.
I'm just going to say I got into an argument with somebody. I didn't really, and that's all I'm going to say, okay? And I should have just walked away after the second attempt. Actually, it was probably really the third, but I was like consciously, I made 2 extra attempts to try to, redirect the conversation to like allow for fair give and take in the conversation rather than somebody trying to just hijack or railroad the whole conversation, not letting you have a voice. Like, that's really frustrating because then they're not interested in what you have to say. They just want to vent on somebody, right? And, you can't always be a verbal punching bag for somebody. I'm sorry. You just can't do that. So I should have just walked away. That's my mistake. And I think I learned my lesson and I will do that next time. So, it's just, but, that's the thing. It's like you just get to the point where I had a lot of stress. The air conditioning broke. It was hot. I was running errands. I had all kinds of things going on. Just so much stress piling up on me. And I snapped. And it happens to all of us. I mean, it's just part of being human. And we all, sometimes circumstances get the best of us because I mean, I'm a single mom. It's tough. There's a lot of demands on me, and I rarely have an opportunity to get my own needs met. So it's very frustrating. And that is the sad reality of it. So, I work a lot and I have a lot of other demands. So, I don't have time for like BS, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? And if you're coming into my life to play games with me, you're going to be sorely sorry because I'm going to let you have it. And now I'm a Sagittarius sun and we can be blunt, quite
Yes.
blunt. In fact, you'll never forget it. So I'm
Oh,
just saying, my Libra rising is the one that prevails most of the time. It's like, okay, I'm trying to give you a chance. I'm trying to give you a chance. I'm going to give you another chance, but God help you. God help you if you cross that line again, because then the Sag goes in there and forget it. It's all over and everybody's going to regret it. And,
yeah.
it's just how it is. We're all, you know, under so much pressure, Scott. Yeah, the Sag demands the truth. That's the hard part, is that I really feel like I was being so reasonable. And I just feel like it was such an unreasonable, and it was just at a point in the day when I was already way taxed, hadn't
Yes.
sat down. I mean, guys, I start in the morning and I don't stop till like 10 o'clock at night. And I really have to stop this. But, there's so many needs and demands, and there's so many of us who are in this situation. So I don't mind sharing a little bit of, my circumstance, because a lot of people are in the same
It's
situation.
happening to all of us.
Yeah.
And we're reacting rather than acting like creators. We react to the chaos, we react to the problem, and we're not even seeing the solution and creating the solution. That's what St. Germain wants me to talk about, is instead of reacting, we need to act like the creators we are. In fact, he gave me a statement to say to everybody: it's time to be defined by our creative nature of the future instead of a memory of the past, because we're dealing with our past stuff, and we need to realize the lords of karma are here. They're clearing our karma. Even Saint Germain with the violet flame is clearing our auric field of all the karmic crap. And it's time that we be defined by creating our future rather than reacting to the past and all the crap going on in the present. And
Yep.
so that's what I want to talk about today is how do we create a better future? And we do this first by not reacting to what's going on around us. And so how do we stop that reaction? We contemplate what's actually causing our emotions to drop down into anger or fear or whatever lower emotion we're experiencing. And we come into peace, number one, because we can't create unless we're peaceful. And so we have to really remain peaceful and calm, be compassionate to what's going on around us, but not feed into the energy. Compassion is not feeding into the evil, it's not feeding into the anger. Compassion is looking at it from a loving perspective, and then we start creating what we truly desire. So you become loving and compassionate, and then you look at it very peacefully and calm. And that's why meditation is so important. And you can meditate with your eyes open, believe it or not, by becoming compassionate and peaceful and breathe. You know how they used to teach us, take a big deep breath before you start saying anything or doing anything you're going to regret. Because that breath, believe it or not, brings in the prana and the energy of God. And it organizes your mind. It takes away the disorganization and the chaos. And by breathing, we actually bring in peace and calming energy and reorganized energy from God. So very organized. You cannot not breathe because we get in really shallow breaths when we get angry. And when we get fearful, you get into very slow breaths. Your autonomic nervous system kicks into high gear, the sympathetic system, and literally you can't think. All you want to do is fight or flight. You want to run away or you want to beat the crap out of whoever's bugging you. And we can't do that. And so, you know, the old adage, take a big deep breath. And do that before you even say anything, bringing in the prana and organization of God. And it literally, instantly will clear your mind and help you to say and do what you truly want, which is have peace, have contentment, have love, have organization, and
Yep.
bring in the energy of knowing how to deal with the situation. You know, my mom and dad were really good at this. You know, if I was ever upset, they say, Scott, stop and take a big deep breath. And so I would, and all of a sudden I'd be going, oh, okay, everything's okay. You know, and it would
Interesting.
clear out that chaos and fear and disorganization. And I could think and find solution. And that's what God wants us to be able to do is find solutions. And we've actually been given these solutions, but we can't think of them when we're in that lower vibration of chaos, fear, anger, discontentment. We need to breathe in the energy of God into our souls and clear out that disorganization and become peaceful so that we can think more clearly, more organized, and start creating what we truly desire.
Well, some people are mentioning in the chat, everybody's saying good morning. I just want to say good morning to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in the chat. Some people are saying, that sleep they're having some trouble sleeping. And I know that I was up at 3 o'clock this morning too. And it's sometimes a little bit hard to get that rest. We have the Schumann frequency. I'm going to screen share this so everybody can see what on earth has been going on here, because um, it's been off the charts. I mean, we've been in some major whiteout modes for a while. And let me see if I can pull this up for everybody.
That's where we should be all the time, is in the higher resonance of the
Yeah.
Schumann resonance, which is a whiteout.
Yeah.
It's actually a very good thing, because it's a
Check
sign
this
that
out.
there's a lot of people around the
Yeah.
world
Yeah.
creating the God energy
Yeah.
by breathing and meditating.
Well, we do need to do more meditating for sure. I think that's why we have 2 ears and one mouth. So
That's right.
we can listen, we have
Twice
to,
as much.
yeah, we have to listen. So here we have, this started on the 20th, total whiteout here. Look at this. I mean, we're just getting pounded. And these are what gamma rays that end up hitting us, because these are also correspond, I think, with solar flares as well. But it's kind of a mystery exactly what it completely comprises, this resonance frequency. But we can tell that we are being we're in the middle of being, it looks like, upgraded, actually, which we all know. It's not a surprise. And I think we're going to be seeing more and more of this, as you said, Scott. But in the meantime, when this kind of chart comes up, we're feeling aches and pains. We're not sleeping that well. We're having disruptions, in sleep and even concentration. We might be short and tempered because we're not sleeping that well. This is huge, but this is becoming a daily event now, folks. A daily event. Look at this: 20th, 21st, 22nd, and and this is corresponding to. Let me see. There was just a 7.9 earthquake up in Alaska. So folks, really, you need to get ready. If you're on the West Coast, you better prepare. This, as many, we had BP Earthwatch, but we also had Dutch Sense, both reporting that this pressure transfers, or at least actually Dutch Sense has been really known for that, explaining how the pressure of these tectonic plates transfer and how it's going down. And then there was another quake over in China where he was expecting that to happen based on the plate movement. Uh, and so they are expecting, an earthquake in the area of the sixes somewhere in California, or near that Cascadia, the Juan de Fuca plate that is pointing directly at Oregon. So that's also on the San Andreas Fault.
Yes.
He's thinking that this is going to go across under the Yellowstone area. So, look, folks, I think this is just the beginning of the challenges that we are going to be facing, and we need to start learning how to help each other one way or the other. Because I think we're going to really need. I think this would be a good time to I think this is our test, Scott. This is our test. God wants to see, what are we made of and what are we willing to fight for? What have we learned in our life? This is our test. This is the final test of, let's say, judgment. If it's the end
Yes.
times, Scott, isn't this not like final judgment for everybody?
Well, and we as humans, we are creators. And the chaos energy, the anger energy, the lower vibrating energy, actually, over my lifetime, I found these things cause earthquakes. They cause tidal waves. They
Mhm.
cause different things that make other humans cause suffering.
Mhm.
And what I found is we can actually control what's going on our planet by aligning ourselves with the elementals, aligning ourselves
Mhm.
with the angels, aligning ourselves with the ascended masters. Now, if you look at Hugh Lin, I don't know if you heard about this, but when the tidal wave was coming from Fukushima, when they had that big earthquake, a tidal wave was coming straight for Hawaii. And Hugh Lin gathered up his followers, at least a couple thousand people, and they stood on the edge of the island and they started meditating and praying that the tidal wave would calm down. And they literally ho'oponopono the tidal wave, and they said, "We love you. We're sorry that this is happening. We, please forgive us for anything we did to cause this with our thoughts or emotions.
Yeah.
And we thank the earth for dissipating this tidal wave." And this tidal wave was a couple of 100 feet high. So it would have hit the islands and decimated Honolulu and most of the other small towns in Hawaii. And these, I've seen the results of these tidal waves. There was one that hit the east coast of Maui and destroyed a little town, everything except the church that was built out of stones. And literally, by the time that tidal wave came to Hawaii, the energy dropped down, and it was a max of a 2-foot wave when it hit Hawaii. So it went from 200 feet tall down to hardly anything, just like a regular wave, by them being together and organizing the energy by being peaceful and calm. And it dissipated the energy. We have naysayers out there all over the place going, "Oh, we don't have that kind of control." I'm here to tell you, you are much more powerful than you even realize. It's even like talking about Yellowstone. They've been saying, "Oh, we're going to have a huge volcanic eruption. The volcano underneath Yellowstone Lake is going to erupt and destroy a third of the United States." These scientists are creating all of this negative thought form. And if enough of us humans start believing and putting our thoughts toward that, sure enough, that will happen. Now, what we need to do is the opposite. We need to be peaceful, and we need to, when I was up in Yellowstone a year ago, I said to we stopped by Yellowstone Lake, and I said to the volcano, "We love you. Be peaceful, be calm, be happy." And it was fascinating. Everybody there joined in with me. We had a group of 15 people, and they joined with me, and literally our bodies went from anxiety into peace. We went from fear into knowing we're creating good energy, and that we as humans, it doesn't take a lot of us. Now, the other thing we did was we called in Jesus and the ascended masters and asked them to assist us. And Jesus taught us to do this. He said, "Call upon me in my name. When 2 or more of you are gathered in my name, asking for assistance, I will be there with you also." So, it's great to have these ascended masters on our side. And
True.
we just need to call upon them. And the angels, the archangels, I swear I call upon them every day now. There's not a day that I don't call upon them, because I know of their power. I know of their love. I know of their concern for us. But by divine law, they can't come and help us until we ask them to. And so it's our job to ask them to assist us in bringing peace, assist us in bringing organization of God that will bring forth good things rather than all of these horrible things. When they're putting us into this fear with this pandemic, that fear is creating death and destruction. And, you know, they did a study on the military back in the
Mm,
60s. And it was when they were wondering about the placebo effect. And they literally would have a recruit being behind a curtain. They
mhm,
say, okay, we're injecting you with poison to see how your body reacts.
mm,
And the poison might kill you, they'd say to them. And it was interesting because by the time they did this to 20 of the soldiers, literally 16 of them died. And they were just injecting saline. And so they stopped, you know, the study because they were finding the thoughts they were sending to these men. They're like, oh God, they're injecting poison in me. I'm going to die. And what would happen? They would die. You
mm.
know, and you don't hear about these studies much because they've covered them up. But I heard about them because I did a rotation out in Jefferson. Excuse me. It was in the middle of Missouri, but it was at the Federal Psychiatric
Mm.
Institute there. And, you know, they were doing all kinds of weird studies. They were still doing lobotomies there. And
Wow.
uh, it was quite fascinating because I got to witness all of this stuff going on at this place. They were using humans as guinea pigs. And it was quite fascinating to see and to hear all of these things that they were doing. And that's where I heard about the study with the military was through that. And so believing, you know, when you get right now, we all, you know, we've been told how awful this COVID is.
Mhm.
And so when you test positive, those thoughts go through your mind. Oh my gosh, I could die. What does that create? You know, and so we've got to think about what we're creating. So it's time to be defined by our creation of the future instead of a memory of the past or present. And so, literally, you know, just the thoughts they're creating in us is creating the pandemic. Because truthfully, this is no worse than any other flu that's come around. In fact, you know, the death rate is less, especially if you're a young, healthy person. But, you know, they've done it so that they stick these sick people in the nursing homes where people are debilitated and their immune systems aren't good. Half of them are on immune suppressants
Mhm.
and they die. The whole place goes down because that's what they're trying to create is a higher than normal death rate. But, you know, even though we have the highest infection rate right now, and I don't really believe that because, you know, there was some nurses here in St. George. Every test they were sending in was coming back positive. So they sent in 100 with false names and sent them in without even swabbing anybody. And all 100 of those swabs came back positive. And so, you know, there's diabolical things going on, manipulating the actual fact of what's going on. And so, you know, they may be, you know, that's why they were saying the testing, you can't trust the testing because there's a lot of false positives. And, you know, in medicine, you have to look at these things, but the media is not looking at the false positives. They're looking at everybody's positive. And, you know, literally the United States is showing the highest rate in the entire world, which is ridiculous, you know. And they're blaming it on us getting out and young groups getting together and all this stuff. But, you know, we don't realize behind the scenes they're manipulating the testing swab.
Oh, whoa, that's a whole other conversation, Scott, that you got there.
Well, but
Okay.
it's creating chaos and disorganization and fear in our minds. And so that's why it's so important for us to take a big deep breath and go,
Mhm.
okay, God, come in and protect me, organize my body and my immune system so that even if I get this virus, I'm fine. I'm healthy and I'm fine. And you know, truthfully, I haven't been sick because I'm staying in that higher vibration.
Well, and you know what's interesting is that, yeah, the higher vibration definitely helps. And I have a clip here that I have actually been sharing. Um, I don't know, this is one way of looking at. I have to just try to show another side of what's happening so we can look at people who are these Antifa and the BLM. The BLM is not a movement about social justice. Not when you destroy and vandalize and you maim and kill other people in the name of social justice is not social justice.
No,
It's called insurgency, and it's also called sedition.
oh, oh, criminal behavior.
Exactly. Exactly. So let me just screen share this for you because they seem to be shooting themselves in the foot. They were lighting the Portland firehouse on fire, and they didn't. They thought their masks were going to save them. So, I mean, not everybody's on the same page. Obviously, a little mask like this is not going to, save you from, the fumes
Lack of
of the
oxygen.
yeah, lack of oxygen, especially when there's a fire going on. Another person set the other person on fire. They're really not that smart. They're kind of as dumb as a box of rocks, quite honestly, because they don't know what the hell they're doing. They're just simply taking money, and they're getting their faces on the video, and everybody's getting identified. Well, did you forget that the COVID-19 caused this change in our software on our phones for this contact tracing? Do you think for a minute they don't know who you are? So this is what's been happening. That there's been, uh, well, actually, there's so much to report on, but I want to show you a video here. So here's another one where I'm telling you, these people do not know even how to do the job correctly. Here they are. Oh, set themselves on fire. So this is what's happening. They're all videotaping this. They're all being recorded, Scott. And the authorities are identifying them all, and of course through contact tracing they know who's there, so they can sync you up with your ID and your phone and who it's registered to and who pays the bill. So thinking for a minute that you're really going to get away with this is really silly, because it's not going to happen. Let me just continue so I can find this video that I wanted to screen share. It might take a minute, so go ahead, Scott. You can continue, and when I find it, I'll let you know.
Yeah, and when you see this, instead of going into judgment, go into compassion and take a big deep breath and send love and light and joy and peace to these people. They need it worse than all of us. Now, when I talk about, clearing out demons and entities, believe it or not, a lot of these people, they are being possessed by negative entities and negative energies, and it's creating their minds to be chaotic and causing destruction. Now, you'll know that when we are destroying things, usually we're possessed by negative energies. Now, MK Ultra proved this over and over again. If they send their thoughts of negativity at you and hits you long enough, you start going into negativity. And so they're actually using mind controlled vibrations. They've set up machines that send out very negative energies of hate and distrust and chaos to these people's minds. Now, one of the things I learned was the military was actually making implants. And so those of you who've lost teeth, and a lot of us have, and they would put an implant in, these implants were receivers for these frequencies, and they found they could control people even better by sending those frequencies directly into the bone of the jaw, and it would go into the brain and create these negative actions and emotions and frequencies. And literally, I met the wife of an orthodontic surgeon who went into endodontics and implants, working down in Las Vegas. And he would put these implants in, and they were down studying on these implants down in Guatemala. So we'd have to go down there every now and then. But they found that most of the shooters, the people who cause death and destruction, have these implants in their mouth.
Wow.
And literally, they forced him to get an implant, and he became suicidal and killed himself because of the implant bringing in and focusing those energies. So MK Ultra and the CIA has been very active in using these devices for mind control. So if you've got an implant in your brain, boy, I've met so many people and they have reactions to these implants, but it's not the implant itself, it's the frequencies that are being shot at them and causing the difficulties. And when I get them to remove the implant, they get better.
Well,
kind of an interesting thing.
no, I know, but
we all want to look so beautiful when we lose a front tooth or something. We think, oh, let's go ahead and get an implant. And we don't realize what we're really having happen.
I have to say, though, I mean, scenes like this make it very difficult for us to try to come to grips with things. This is a Black Lives Matter supporter holding down a white baby by the neck, and someone is holding the hands of the child behind their back. They better find who this is, and they better get him and arrest him right away, because this is sickening. This is sickening. This is not social justice, folks. These are criminals. So,
well, and killing is killing. Thou shalt not kill was not a suggestion. These people are doing the ultimate sin of killing another human being.
So there's a lot of stuff on our Twitter page, folks. If you have a chance to check it out, you should go check it out. Project Bluebeam, is that going to be their next one? We don't know. But this is the article that I wanted to show everybody right here. I wanted you to hear what Laura Ingraham talked about here for just a second.
Next guest has been receiving alarming reports of doctors targeted by their state medical licensing boards for actually saving their patients' lives. It sounds crazy? Well, it's happening. Joining me now, Dr. Harvey Risch. He's the epidemiology professor at Yale School of Public Health and one of the most renowned minds in the country on epidemiology. Dr. Risch, what treatment is being targeted and how pervasive is this?
Good evening, Laura. So this is, of course, hydroxychloroquine, the word that nobody should ever say, according to half the population. It's a political drug now, not a medical drug, and that's caused the complete population ignorance. And I think we're basically fighting a propaganda war against the medical facts, and that colors not just population people, how they think about it, but doctors as well. And there are many doctors that I've gotten hostile, remarks about, saying that all the evidence is bad for it. And in fact, that's not true at all. And it's easy to show that all the evidence is actually good for it when it's used in outpatient uses. Nevertheless, The only people who actually see that are a whole pile of doctors who are actually on the front lines treating those patients across the country. And they are the ones who are at risk of being forced not to do it.
And Dr. Ish, how important would it be now, or significant, if the administration, basically through the FDA, rescinded that warning about hydroxy? It was complete bunk, made a mistake about the warning, and get out of the way of the relationship between the doctor and the patient for off-label use of a medicine that's been around for 65 years. Shouldn't Stephen Hahn of the FDA come out and say, look, we're not going to micromanage your decisions, and let this go?
Yes, it would be game-changing. In fact, all of the discussion that you had earlier on how to manage going forward through September, October, and into next year will change if there's prevention and treatment that works, that's available, and that's safe. And that is, in fact, the case. But the problem is, of course, that nobody wants to hear it and nobody lets it out except for you. You're the only one who's actually, in any way, the mainstream media that is allowing anybody to speak about the evidence for the usage of these drugs.
Now, I've got to say, Dr. Ish,
Okay, so that kind of sums it up right there. There's a brave doctor who came out and, focusing on the fact that this is a good solution, and he's being that voice. So that's one thing that we can do, is be that voice of reason, regardless of who's listening, because it will help some people, right? And you're a doctor. I mean, this off-label use, isn't that what you're trained to do in medical school? Shouldn't you have a license to practice medicine, right? And when you have a license to practice medicine, isn't it your discretion how you choose to treat each patient as an individual, Scott?
Oh no, that changed in the late 80s, early 90s, and they caused what they call standards of care. Now, these standards of care were put into law by the pharmaceutical industry, the hospital systems, and the insurance system. And literally when I was first training as a physician, I called it the golden age of medicine because doctors could pretty much practice medicine and give patients what worked, and a lot of these older doctors I trained under, 80, 90-year-old healthy physicians who were not only practicing medicine, but practicing alternative things and even doing energy medicine.
Yeah.
And what happened in the late 80s, early 90s, were all of these people were brought under reproach by the medical boards. And they started prosecuting doctors who were not following the standards of care of the pharmaceutical industry, the hospital industry, the insurance industry. And they made it so not only would you not be paid if you were going outside of the standard of care, but you could be prosecuted and jailed going outside of it. And I know about this because it happened to me.
Exactly.
I was healing people right and left, and the state medical board came out against me and tried to find people to testify against me. And nobody would testify against me because they were all like, well, Dr. Werner's getting us healthy. Why would I want to testify against him? Oh, he did something wrong with you. And they were like, no, the other doctors were doing the wrong thing. And that's why I went to Dr. Werner, because he was doing things that actually helped me get my health back.
Exactly.
And literally, I fought this for 8 years. And that's when I met Winston Shrout, because he taught me about all the crap that the government has done to control us and take away our sovereignty, take away our rights to health, happiness, and the pursuit of happiness, life, liberty. They take away our life now because they don't allow the medical profession to practice medicine. They set
Right.
standards of care, and if you go outside those standards of care, they come after you. And
Well,
that's
look,
how they control the doctors.
there has to be something stopping doctors from injecting cement into people's thighs to give them bigger booties. Yes, but that's also malpractice because you don't do that. That's what you have malpractice laws for. So
Well, Botox is a toxin, and yet that it's become the rage of
absolutely.
everything. And people don't realize there are side effects from injecting Botox toxin into your body. It has an accumulative effect, but they've made it for everything, for your little lines, for
It's
nasal post drip and all this crap, and they don't tell you it's got side effects.
Yeah, it's botulism, folks. It's botulism, and we're injecting it into our face. Amazing. Okay, so this is a propaganda war, as the doctor said, population ignorance. This is a propaganda war from the pharma cartel.
Yep.
And they're forcing you, and this is the problem, that they're forcing you to when the change happened. I mean, I always worked in the medical field, and so I worked with doctors, and I saw their practices change when this happened, as you're talking about in the early 90s, I would say. And the insurance companies would start dictating before, I think, even the drug companies did, but I don't know. It could have been the drug companies first, but the insurance companies would start dictating, because they're the ones who ultimately paid you. The pharmaceutical companies don't pay you unless they're giving you kickbacks, which is we're going to talk about later, but um, in a minute rather. But the insurance company said, okay, well, this is the usual and customary fee. So, if somebody in so if there's a doctor practicing in the Midwest somewhere with lower overhead, lower expenses, and there's more of those doctors than the doctors in the big city, while you're still going to be paid what the doctor in, what is it, like Oklahoma is getting, because it's a standard, it's a usual and customary fee for this particular service. So it's kind of like they started to manipulate what you could charge even for a particular service. Then they started to say, well, you can't have this and this and this in your waiting room, and you can't have your office, so they would then start dictating how, they start imposing more restrictions on your freedom to practice medicine, and even the business that you were in, to facilitate that. And then then the pharma cartel really kicked in. And I knew this one guy who his job 24/7 was flying around the world and hosting these lavishing events for doctors to buy their cardiology medicine. So the cardiology pharmaceutical company, the cardiology branch, had this guy just scheduled all the time to travel and organize meetings, and basically dinners and all kinds of things. Now, this guy really had no social life because he was traveling all the time. And but when he was home on the weekends or whatever, he was a neighbor. So when he was home on the weekends, this is what, we learned that he did. So they have full-time people to basically lobby these doctors, big name doctors who have big practices, who prescribe a lot of medications. And then this is how they get the doctors themselves essentially to, they seduce a lot of them, quite honestly. And then after the seduction doesn't work any longer, then they start to report them to the licensing board. And
Oh
this is
yeah.
such an organized crime. This is such a medical mafia. It's not even funny. So little by little, and I know doctors that wanted to get out of the practice. In fact, most of them wanted to get out of the practice of actually taking care of people. I worked with a lot of plastic surgeons because I used to make facial prosthetics. So I worked with a lot of plastic surgeons, and they wanted to focus more on, although they would always do, the reconstructive work for the trauma patients, there was no profit in it. So they were taking as much cosmetic surgery patients as possible in order to supplement their income. And, in that genre, that's what they had to do. I mean, here they invested all this time, energy, and money into medical school, and then they were making less and less and less money. You couldn't even pay off the loans for the education. So, you know, and that's even happening on a different socioeconomic level to people today, even with bachelor's degrees, even with um, master's degrees and other PhDs. I mean, people are indebted in life to get to get their higher education, whereas other countries it's provided by the government, which is more socialist, yes. But this is the reality of it. But it's all about, at this point, it's all about consumer beware, right, Scott? And everybody really has to make their the choice for themselves. But you are right. Absolutely. We have people in the comment section saying that POTUS is all over this, and he is. So right now, you saw him out there talking about hydroxychloroquine. Folks, we would have never known about hydroxychloroquine if the president didn't talk about it in his press briefings for the coronavirus. So we have one of the best advocates for us. And one of the most recent Q posts was an interesting post because it really sums up the truth of what is happening here. We have a president who says here, quite honestly, in reality, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just in the way. And this is with President Trump there. And so this really is the reality of it. He is trying to protect the American people the best that he possibly can. And so if it wasn't for President Trump talking about hydroxychloroquine, we really wouldn't have known anything about it. Why that's not being given out prophylactically, I have no idea. Why are they, pushing these vaccines? I don't know. But one report that I did hear, and I wanted to screen share this with everybody, was an interesting gentleman on Twitter who, Scott, you tell us what you think about this as a doctor. Let's listen.
The sky is falling, the sky is falling. Media is reporting that they had the most positive tests for COVID yesterday of any day they've had. And it just so happens yesterday my wife went to her doctor and she's visiting with the doctor. The doctor wasn't believing the test she was getting back, so she took 10 brand new swabs straight out of the package, sent them to the lab, and guess what, folks? All 10 of them came back testing positive for COVID. They'd never been stuck up anybody's nose, but they still tested positive for COVID. You tell me how that works. Well, that's just one doctor. I'd read that on the media before, but I really wasn't sure. But when I hear it straight from the horse's mouth, it makes me kind of believe them other people too. So quit listening to the media. Go live your life and quit worrying about this fucking coronavirus.
Oop, bleep.
Hey, well, here's the thing that he's saying. He's saying the exact thing I've been seeing here in St. George when these women sent in 100 swabs. Now, if it's got the coronavirus on it, guess what's happening? They're actually, by testing you, infecting you with the coronavirus because it's on the swabs before it even goes in your mouth or your nose.
Yeah.
That's pretty diabolical.
It certainly is.
It's dwelling on negativity, and we're supposed to be talking about positivity. And so,
I know, but the reality is here this is what we're faced with every day. So these are real challenges that we're faced. So we take a situation like this is in our face. This is in our face. So now what do we do to turn this around? And that's why I brought this up, because it's great talking about it, but it's like, okay, this is what we're facing though. This is in our faces all day long. And we also have to make difficult choices. Should we get tested? Should we not get tested? So,
our dear president told us we're getting a lot more positive cases because we're being tested. And he kind of went with the message there. Don't get tested. Don't be a sheep and get infected by being tested.
Good. So you're saying read
between right out and say it, or the media would have a heyday.
Very clever, Scott. Very clever. See, this is great that we're having the conversation because it definitely helps. It helps people need to kind of say, wait, I didn't think of that. I was so consumed because they have everybody in fear. Once they have everybody in fear, then we're deer in the headlights, right? And we
And
can't.
we'll do whatever they tell us to do, which
Exactly.
is baloney. We need to be our own creators and not allow them to put us into the fear and the chaos.
Right.
We need to stop that chaos.
Right. And I only brought it up because I was trying to show the illustration that you have people doing positive things, and there's people who are speaking out. That's why I was showing those, not to be negative, but in fact to show the positivity of people, and that there's people who are brave and they are standing up, and like the president, if he never said anything about hydroxychloroquine. So what I'm trying to say, folks, is look for the positive where we can, accentuate the positive. There's plenty of negative. We see it, we can't escape it, but we can't pass by the positive messages quickly, because it'll undermine them. Because let me also just say that what's happening now is everybody has really been waiting for the governors of the states and the mayors of these cities to take control of the violence that's been going on in the cities. And it had to play out. I'm afraid, Scott, that some people really aren't connecting the fact that the BLM and the DNC are one and the same. That it's
and they're all being paid for by George Soros, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates,
and Bank of America
are paying their wages.
Bank of America has announced they're going to donate $3 trillion or something, some number of that astronomical amount to Black Lives Matter, which is very serious, folks. I mean, now is the time to start boycotting if you feel compelled to do so. But what has finally happened, and I'm not going negative, folks. I'm trying to show you how you take a negative situation and turn it positive by example here. Here you have a picture of law enforcement. This is why law enforcement is using vans to make discreet arrests of violent. Look at what they're doing to the unarmed police who are here. Okay, this is when they attacked the courthouse in, I think, Portland, right? So you can see they're beating them up. This isn't peaceful protesting that the Constitution allows. So then we go from that message there to, hold on a second. Let me get to it. Where'd it go? Okay. No, sorry. This is the one. Check this video out here. Now the president has said, okay, the nation has seen enough of this. We can see that we can clearly see, even if you don't make the connection between BLM and the Democrat-run cities and states, you can clearly make the connection that nobody's taking control of the situation in these major cities. And now, because I think there's a certain number of cities where this is happening, the president doesn't even have to make the announcement. He already talked about he has the right to implement the Insurrection Act. And this is what the president's doing now to clean this up. Because what you need to do is, unfortunately, you need to let it happen. You need to let them commit the crime. Prevention is not really where our police and law enforcement are strong. They only actually are good at responding to things, not preventing it. So, because you can't arrest somebody for a crime they didn't commit yet. So sadly, they can only respond to a crime that's been committed. So this is what the president has finally started to do. Let's take a look. What are you doing? Use your words. What are you doing? Use your words. Who is this saying something such like a child? Listen to this. Oh, sorry, triggered me. Use your words. What are you doing?
I haven't done anything wrong.
Use your words.
I haven't done anything wrong. What's going on, sir?
What is going on?
We need to know.
Who are you?
Why are you taking?
NLG will get you out. What's your name? Tell us your name.
What's your name?
Okay, you're fine. We'll get you out.
Bro, what?
We got you, friend.
We got you.
Oh, fuck.
NLG.
You just violated their rights.
You don't have any rights.
Kidnapping people.
You just
Look at that.
violated their rights.
Thanks for keeping them fucking. Oh.
Okay, there you go. The gloves are off, folks. President Trump is kicking, he's moving in. And so you can feel good about that. Just know that it had to play out. Sadly, you had to show people, as Q has said, you can't tell people things. Sometimes you just have to show them. It has to play out. And so this is exactly where we're at right now. And I'm so proud. I'm so happy finally that the president is stepping up to the plate, Scott, and now sending in these special forces to look. Now they have all the data on their whereabouts. They know who they are. They have their facial recognition because they've all been
They have their
videotaping
phone
themselves.
signal, so they know exactly who they are.
Exactly. So sadly, folks, it had all this negativity had to play out in order to get the people who are committing this insurrection and committing these crimes to be removed. And because it's really a brilliant plan. And I don't think we should ever underestimate how brilliant our president is. And I know it's not him alone. He has a really brilliant team working with him. But it's a brilliant plan, and it's about strategy. It's about letting the enemy expose themselves, letting them also expand all of their ammunition. It's not, the quick, immediate gratification that people want, but it is the long-term solution. And so
Yes.
I think that when we see that, that's very reassuring to us. Now we can look at the positives of because these are real issues. I mean, this is not like just worry about something. These are real issues and threaten the security of our home, of our family, of our job, of our workplace. These cities, there's a lot of people who want to leave these major cities. There's a major exodus being reported of people leaving New York City, and of course these other cities like Seattle, of course Portland. And so
California. The whole damn state's trying to get out.
I mean, what they're doing is they're turning these Democrat leaders, and I have to identify them because right now I don't see any Republicans doing it. But the Democrat-run cities and states are turning their cities into slums, and it's what's a shame is that we're allowing it to happen. That's what's sad. So that's another issue, not for today. But what I wanted to highlight here is that there is positive happening. There is a plan. And you have to trust that plan, and you have to know that the president is on our side. So what we can do to worry about our more immediate surroundings is not worry about that, because we know the president's got that taken care of. He's working on that now, and I think he's also playing the Sun Tzu master as well. And he's also, in many regards, letting them think that they still have control when they actually don't. It's just and one by one they get picked up and cleaned up. But it's brilliant. So the whole COVID thing, believe it or not, this really could have a silver lining behind it. But we have to be clever about it. And there was also another report today about the swabs themselves being so long. Like, why does it need to go up to this barrier between the top of the nasal cavity and the brain, which is a permeable, right? It's not a fixed bone.
Permeable membrane where we can get the COVID into our central nervous system, which is really bad because it's got the genetics of the SARS, the MERS, and Ebola. And that's why people's systems are having such bad reactions.
So let me just see something here so there's a report this morning. Let me show the picture of this. I guess this is it here. Is this correct, Scott? This is cribriform plate.
Yeah, the cribriform plate. And it's very permeable. That's why I have people put frankincense or WO oil on their tongue. It hits the palate and goes right into the brain and opens up the blood-brain barrier. Well, if they're sticking that swab up so high that it hits that, boy, I tell you, they could inject and cause meningitis.
What about if there's chips on there?
And if there's chips, they've got a direct access to the brain.
Yeah.
And, there are these nanobot chips now, nano chips
Yeah.
And they're so small, they can put them on every damn swab.
Yeah.
And, who needs an injection when they can swab you?
Yeah. So the moral of the story here is, buyer beware, be careful. The president, as you said, Scott, the president told us that there were more. You're so right about this, Scott. That the president was telling us that there's more positive tests because we've been testing so much more. So either that or it's that everybody has a natural coronavirus within them. I mean, God only knows what it's actually testing. According to that guy, and you said yourself that they're sending tests back and they're all coming back positive. So, but there's two different kinds of tests, though, right? I mean, one test is to test for the antibodies. And then one test is to test for the active virus. They're not the same. So positive on one is not a positive on the other. So you can't have a positive antibody and a positive COVID. You have a negative COVID with a positive antibody, right?
Yes. And the antibody actually tells what your immune system has responded to. IgM is a recent infection. IgG positive is a latent or a longer, more than 3 to 6 months. And so if we're doing antigenic testing, they can tell if you've had a recent infection or it's been around in your body for a while.
Wow.
And that's the only true test that I would suggest people get, because all these others are having false positives and false negatives. And, most of it, they've totally created this. And, I've just got to tell everybody, we have birds and hummingbirds coming to the window and looking at us doing this.
Aww.
And that's a sign nature is behind us. And they want us to bring more peace to the planet, more love, more communication with God, more, get in a higher vibe. Oh my God, this is so interesting. I've had literally about 10 hummingbirds come to the window.
That's wonderful.
And just look at us. It's quite fascinating. Oh, there's another one. Just
take a
ran
picture
into
with
the
your phone. Hey,
luckily didn't run in too hard.
So, knowledge is power, and one of the things that we can do to stay remaining positive is to fortify ourselves with knowledge. This way, we don't have to worry. This way, we can eliminate the negative. Also, by empowering ourselves, that's another way to eliminate the negative, is by empowering ourselves. That's how, and then naturally you accentuate the positive, because then we can make better choices for ourselves. Because with all this misinformation, disinformation, confusing information about COVID and all this, I think there's enough confusion about it to warrant not getting tested if you can help it, and not getting the vaccination. I mean, the president is talking about this fast tracking of this vaccination, and I don't think, I'm telling you, there's a lot of people who are already way against having any kind of vaccination whatsoever, Scott, because who knows what's going to be put in it. Is this going to be the chip, the ultimate chip? What's going to happen? So I think until we know more, that's it. I mean, personally, I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just saying personally, until I have as much full research and information on it, I'm not doing any of it. So and that's an empowering position to be in. That's how you eliminate the negative. You just eliminate the problems from it, because no matter what you do, there's going to be side effects, right, Scott?
Oh, absolutely. And the thing that we should be doing is creating our reality. Now, the reason I bring this up is I've found through all of my creating that I can uncreate nanobots in my system just by my thoughts and my intent. Now, people don't realize this, but our thoughts create our reality. And so as you think, so you are. Jesus said that. So as you think, you are. Now, if we start developing our God creativity, It's very powerful. And we can actually uncreate virus in our bodies. I've done this for years. I literally, whenever I get feeling like I've got a viral infection, I take and I go into meditation and I start visualizing in my mind. This is how I started out doing this. I would visualize all the virus turning into popcorn and my immune system becoming little Pac-Men going in there and eating up all the popcorn and getting it out of my body. And within literally 40 to 50 minutes of doing that, I would feel better and go back to work. And the power of our minds, just as a placebo can cause us to believe saline is going to do something awful to us, we can also believe we can uncreate that poison. You know, Jesus taught that we could be given poison and through our faith and our belief, make it so it doesn't harm us. COVID is just like poison. And we believe we have the power over these viruses, over this energy, and we uncreate it or turn it into popcorn, have little Pac-Man come eat it up and get it out of our bodies. However you want to visualize. Visualization is a more powerful form of faith, and that's why I always go into visualization. Jesus taught this, and he taught us that we can literally, as we think, so we become. And so we need to think positively. We need to believe our immune system is working perfectly. We need to visualize that our minds are working perfectly. And we can visualize that those swabs have the virus uncreated, or the the immunization has the nanobots uncreated and the virus uncreated and the whatever else diabolical thing they're putting in there, because we have the spark of God, the spark of creation within each of us, and we're a lot more powerful than we can really imagine. But we have to imagine it, because our imagination is what helps us to create our reality and our future. For all of you who are waiting for the RV, St. Germain has been continually telling me, don't wait for the RV, start your projects. Even if you only have enough to do a little bit, start doing it, because we learn as we do. And if we start creating what we desire, it starts coming into fruition, and then the funds will come in and we will be able to generate it. So don't wait on your projects, start doing your projects, start creating rather than withdrawing and being in fear.
There you have it. We didn't wait. GoldFish Report started 5 years ago, and this was the project. And I remember saying, well, there's no time like the present. I just knew that this had to happen first, that this information needed to get out. We needed to help wake people up. Now I don't feel like we need to wake people up as much anymore, because now we have many people joining, ranks. And of course we have this great awakening that's upon us right now. And of course, the president is also doing that with Q and all sorts of things. So, I think that there is much hope to be had. We do, despite the fact that, look at these things I screen shared, that it looks like, there is chaos, there is some turmoil, but that is getting under control. And of course, you're not going to hear of BLM after November 4th. They're just going to disappear, right?
Thank goodness.
Right?
Thank goodness.
They're not going to have they're not going to have a purpose anymore, because that's their purpose. It's all about the election.
But Louisa is going to have purpose, and she's going to bring you good information. So please support her. I feel bad I didn't say that last time, because Louisa is struggling. Every moment she is using to give you information And she doesn't have outside income coming in except donations from you. So please donate to her, because she is doing good things, bringing out good information and helping us understand what's actually going on.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate that. Yep.
A
I
little
just,
plug for you,
I
because
appreciate
I am
that.
so happy with Louisa. I tell you, she is amazing, and she's a critical thinker. She is one of these people who look at all aspects, and I've been amazed at how her concrete thinking brings you the truth.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate that. It's not, it's not easy competing with all the men who are out there with channels.
Uh-oh, they just did something to us. They took away your internet. They froze us. I advertised and they froze us. Sorry. Oh, yep. And we need to make a reality that's a peaceful planet, a beautiful earth, that all the people come out of the brainwashing and visualize peace, happiness, and joy. So hopefully we're doing that. So I just want to say to everybody, what we need to do is be peaceful, happy, full of joy, full of, being who we truly are, creators, and create a beautiful future by creating a beautiful present moment. So meditate, pray, clear the negative energy by breathing in the organization positivity from the creator, and bring that into your body and just love everybody. And you will find joy, peace, happiness. Your life will create better things by you creating these good things. So just know we have that ability. And I don't know where Louisa went. They froze her. I was giving her a little bit of a commercial, and all of a sudden everything disappeared. And we're sorry that happened. Just know that we are doing our best to create the desires of our heart. So that we so just know this is very important for us to realize. And I'm here to tell you how to create. We focus our mind. I'm on the phone with Louisa. Hi, Louisa. Yeah, I did a little advertisement. I didn't think that was threatening them, but they want to put you out of business, apparently. It's interesting. I'm still live on Zoom, but they cut you out. Yeah, it's showing the goldfish number 531. Yeah, they literally froze you and you were gone. Well, maybe I need to get off but I think it was a good message. Well, I'll give a blessing right now because I'm still on. There's 64 people watching. So I'm going to finish up with a blessing and then I'll give you a call back. Okay, so if you want to stay on while I do the blessing. Yes. In the name of the Almighty, I am that I am. We give you a blessing for your behalf. We bless all of you who are hearing my voice, that you will. Can you put your Hey, I'm hearing you. Yeah, but you're on my phone. So I'm going to finish the blessing. Bless you all in the name of Jesus Christ, that you be healed and that any entities or mind control will be removed from you. We bless you also that you will be able to visualize peace, happiness, joy, love, and compassion, and that these thoughts and feelings will penetrate your entire system and body. We bless you that your minds will be filled with love and happiness and joy. And we bless that you will support those who are bringing you the truth, like Louisa, and that you will listen to her channel and find peace and contentment in knowing the truth. And we seal this blessing in the name of the Almighty I am that I am. So be it. So it is. Say goodbye, Louisa.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Sorry about this, but our Zoom connection was cut, and so thank God Scott was able to keep that. And thank you for the beautiful blessing, Scott.
You're welcome, and thank you for the forum and the ability to give the message. And God bless you, God bless you, God bless you, and we'll continue to clear negative entities in everyone.
Thank you, everybody. We'll be back on Saturday night for our POTUS report at 8 p.m. So, and we'll be back next week with another full episode. So thank you all for watching. This concludes this edition of the GoldFish Report.
Good, good. It went really well. Oh, Lisa's calling. Hello.
God, this is wild. You go up in the left corner of your Zoom window and click stop live stream. I can't believe that you're in control of my account. And I'm like,
Yeah, they totally shifted the energy. Yeah, it's out. It's gone.
oh, you're hold on. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it still says live. And
Closing up yet.
Okay.